really nice. That's just with everything on full. This is my Seafoam green Squier Stratocaster by Fender. So it's the Affinity Stratocaster. So you get the Bullet, which is the cheapest one, which has a bit of a thinner body. I've got one arriving, I'll compare it to that at some point. This is the Affinity, so it's like the main Squier range, and then I think you get like Vintera and other fancy ones which are a bit more high end. I've had it for about 24 hours, so it arrived yesterday. I've left it in the studio overnight to acclimatise just so it stops moving around. One thing we get with all Squiers, all Squiers that I've found, is all the frets are really, can you hear that? They're really scratchy. It does wear off if you play it for, I don't know, a couple of days. It's completely fine, but they must not finish the frets super flat. And I have had a look at the frets. I have had a look at the frets, and it's definitely been fret leveled. I can see where they've done it, but it does look a bit all over the place. But I've played it, and I've gone up the neck. There's no problems with it. They've done a good job. The action is a bit low, but I think that could be to do with wherever it was set up. China, maybe it's a bit colder or warmer here because the action's a bit low. So just needs a tiny tweak on the truss rod. Although saying that, it's set up with 9s and I'm going to put 10s on it, so that'll bring the truss rod, there'll be a bit more tension and that'll probably sort it out. So it's a bit buzzy just on that E string. For the rest of the string, everything's completely fine. I will take it apart, so at the second half of this video later on I'm just going to have a look at the inside, see what's going on. Not that it really matters because it sounds great, so who actually cares? A couple of things with this. With the Affinities, it's a full thickness body, so 44mm. Which I prefer. I don't like the thinner bodies, I just think it feels, well, not good. So it's really nice. All the carves feel nice. Limited edition colour, not that that's relevant because you might not be able to get it in this colour, but that looks really cool. Everything's really shiny, looks good. Tuned it up a couple of times, no problems with the machine heads. Sometimes they feel a bit cheap. On this one, seems to be completely fine. All the pickups sound great. All the controls, nothing feels cheap at all. So no problems there. With the Squier range, I think most of the Squier range comes with the floaty bridge. I say floaty, it's touching the body, but it comes with a bridge with a tremolo, so you can bend it, a whammy bar, sorry. And it's the 6 screws into the body version. I think the Fender Player Series has like the 2-screw pivot thing, and the American series has that. I've only been aware of that recently, and I've had Strats of every kind and I've never noticed the difference. So I thought it was just a Strat bridge, didn't know the different types of it. So I wouldn't say it's something to get hung up about because I have noticed no difference over the last 20 years. There probably is one. For example, you probably can't bend this, you can't bend the string sharp because this is touching the body. I don't know if you can set it up to do that, but you can bend the other way, bend the strings down. Does it matter? Not really, no, I don't care. 3-ply scratch plate. I am really hot on this sort of thing. I think if you've got a single-ply scratch plate, it looks a bit cheap. Whereas a 3-ply, this tiny pinstripe around the edge, makes a huge difference. I think the Bullets come with a single-ply, and I always change that. But this 3-ply, that tiny black stripe around the edge of this white scratch plate, I just think it makes it look so much neater. It's just a nice detail. The pickups sound great. I will have a look at what pickups these are. They're probably ceramic. I should have checked the spec. Can't remember what the body's made out of. I don't care. When it comes to tone wood, I think it's complete rubbish. Don't believe a word of it. In fact, check out my video on the Tone Master 3000 I made. The wood your guitar's made out of, who cares? As long as it looks cool. And the only bit you can see really is the neck. So maple neck, and the fretboard is Laurel. So it's not Rosewood, even though it looks like it. I quite like the look of this. It looks just like Rosewood because I've got quite a lot of Rosewood fretboards and it looks the same. I don't know if they dye it, I don't care if they dye it, it looks great. And a lot of people don't like the Pao-Ferro or Pao-Ferro, I don't know how to say it, which you get on the Mexican Strats. I think it looks completely fine, I have no problem with it. Sound wise, it's a fretboard, you can't hear a fretboard, so if it looks nice, it's okay. Just for reference, I'm playing through a Boss Katana today. This is just on clean at the moment. I will put it on the dirty channel. Second half of the video, I will be playing through an Orange Rocker 15 Terra, so a valve amp, just so you've got the comparison. I figured a Boss Katana's good because surely everyone could afford them. They're about 200 quid. It's the 100-watt one, not that tiny awful one that I've tried out. Done a video on the Boss Katana if you're interested. Nice sounding amp. In fact, it's probably the best amp I've ever played versatility. In fact, I've got two of them. There's one there and one there. Videos on that to come soon. I don't really know what else to say about this, to be honest. If it said Fender on the top and it had 10s on it, because I don't like the feel of 9s. If you like 9s, that's fine. I like 10s, I just think they feel nicer. So I will restring this with 10s. If it said Fender and someone passed this guitar to me and they're like, try out my new Fender, I would 100% believe it's a Fender. It looks like a rosewood neck, fretboard, sorry. It's got the walnut plug. The pickups sound great. Nothing feels cheap. There's no imperfections on the finish. I mean, I may spot that it's not shallow strap locks. I'm pretty sure the American ones, my one came with shallow strap locks, so I may spot that. And the fact it's a Squier here, you know, you could change that to a Fender one. It's sort of irrelevant that it says Squier on it because it feels not like a Squier. One thing I've just noticed that I will say is, quite often with rosewood fretboards, they give you like a 3mm bit of rosewood, and the fret markers, these dots, are sort of on the join of that where the maple and the rosewood are. But this is a full thickness like 6mm fretboard. I know it's Laurel, but I think it looks better having like 6mm of fretboard, because on newer Squiers and some Fenders I've noticed you get a really thin fretboard. I think they're just trying to skimp on the amount of timber they give you, or the amount of rosewood or whatever. It's a nicer touch, so this looks really good. On this, maybe they have dyed it because the fret markers look like they're clay, which I just think looks really cool. It just looks nicer rather than really shiny white dots. This just looks a bit more interesting, to the point where I will almost certainly keep this guitar. Like, I bought it because I like the colour, to be honest. And I wanted to compare it to the Bullet, and I want to compare it to a Fender Player Strat, so I've got to get one of those at some point. I would borrow it off my mates, but it's in lockdown again, so I can't just pick guitars up off people anymore and compare them. I will play a bit more. It's a little bit irrelevant. I know it's an instrument, so you want to hear the sound, but it sounds good, and it sounds, well, you're going to hear it through an amp you probably don't have in a room that you're not in, through a microphone in a position that you probably haven't put a microphone in on a guitar cab, and it's going through YouTube's compression, so it's going to sound completely different to you than it does in the room, but it will still sound good. There is nothing wrong with the sound of these pickups, and like I say, second half of the video I'll take it all apart and have a look inside, because I'm like that. I'll put 10s on it and I'll play it through a valve amp, and this is a really cool looking guitar. Should probably take the sticker off. I'll get a free Fender play lesson, that should be fun. Middle position. Going a bit out of tune. It's new strings on this and it's just going a bit wavery. I'm just going to check the tone works, because sometimes with guitars, sorry to go off on a bit of a tangent, sometimes you get a tone knob and it does nothing from like, well, 0 to 3, all the action, and 3 to 10, nothing happens, so... It's one of those. Okay, so the tone knobs on this, that's the sort of thing that annoys me. Let's check the volume sweep. Okay, the volume feels fine. I will probably change the tone pots. Now, for me, if you've got a knob in your guitar and you're turning it, it should have a pretty even sweep for everything. I know some people say, oh, I like to fine tune sort of the top end, but do you really? It's better to have like 0 to 10 usable. And this isn't a problem just in low end guitars. A lot of guitars come with a volume, sorry, it's mainly tone pots, to be honest, not volume, where 0 to 3, it's like from off to on pretty much. There's a tiny bit of variation in that. And then from 3 to 10, it's just all the way up pretty much. It's sort of 95% to 100 tone. So I probably will change those, mainly because I've got a load of spares in the other room. But like I said, this is not a problem you get with just cheap guitars. I mean, my Chapman ML3 Pro Modern, that had it. My Gibson doesn't. It's hard to remember what came and what, because I've modified every guitar I've ever owned. But A lot of guitars have this. It's not a problem. Most people just leave everything on full anyway, so if you're that player, who cares? And it may not bother you. It bothers me because I adjust everything while I'm playing because, well, I like to get the full sound out of a guitar. Right, let's have some crunch. The lead channel. I'm going to go on brown sound, but I'm going to just have a quick tune up. To be honest, this is a huge step up from a Bullet Strat. I don't have one here at the moment. One's arriving next week, so I'll do a comparison, a full video on that. But I've owned Bullet Strats and Bullet Tellies, and I don't know if it's just the thinner body. I think there's sort of a minimum you can spend on a guitar before it just becomes, well, terrible. And well, this is just a full fat. You could gig with this. You could have this. Well, I've played for 20 odd years, and it's not like I don't have far better guitars. Well, you'd think price-wise, but this is completely comparable. Feels no different to any of my other guitars. The weight is completely fine. The neck feels great. Feels nice to play. The frets are a little scratchy, but that's wearing off because I've played it quite a bit. There's nothing wrong with this at all. And I think people are just going to see the price and see it says Squier on it and go, ooh. If you bought a Fender plate for the back of here, sanded this off and put a Fender logo on the headstock and handed it to someone, I'm telling you now, they would not know. They just wouldn't. Unless they looked really closely on the back, because it does say designed and backed by Fender, made in China, which it doesn't say on Fenders. I'm really impressed by that. Like I said, second half of the video, we'll have a look at the electrics, put 10s on it, play it through a valve amp. It's an amazing guitar. Welcome back, it's got 10s on it, it's going through a valve amp, and it sounds like this. It just feels so much better with 10s on. I tell you, putting 10s on, this just feels like, well, any Fender really. It just feels like a guitar you could gig with and have absolutely no problems. I took it apart, did a little video on that, so everything inside looks okay. There's small pots, it doesn't really matter. I tested the pickups and they're about 4.7k at the front, 4.73 in the middle and 4.87 at the bridge, so slightly more powerful as you go back, but only slightly. It's a great guitar, 170 quid. If you need a backup guitar, this could be it. If you want your main guitar, this could genuinely be it. If you want a Fender without the price tag, I mean, it's fantastic. The machinists don't even feel bad. You can always upgrade the pickups. I don't think these pickups sound bad, so I wouldn't say they really need upgrading. There's not anything I'd really change on this, genuinely. It looks amazing. It's a full thickness guitar. It sounds great. If the electrics wear out, so any of the pots or switch, change them. You don't need to change it otherwise. There's nothing wrong with this. It just sounds amazing and doesn't buzz anywhere. Really nicely set up. And I play things like that are quite open, so I go all over the neck just so I can feel if anything buzzes. Nothing buzzes at all. The action's lovely. I haven't done a setup on this, I haven't adjusted the truss rod. The relief's completely fine, it's not too high at the nut. This is really well set up for a £170 guitar. I will put Amazon links in the description in case you want to buy one. I think if you buy one I'll get about £1. That would be nice. If not, you know, get it from somewhere else. This one was from Guitar Amp and Keyboard Center, or GAC as everyone calls it. I think they do. That's what I've always called it. It's a really nice guitar. It's really, really good. I might even keep this one. I didn't really have any intention of keeping it, but I just think, look at that. Sounds great, looks great. I like this, I like it a lot. Thanks for watching, hopefully it was helpful.